Well, welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead, everybody. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic morning, and good morning to you, my favorite viewer. Yeah, it's going to be another hot one. We've got a little bit of a, it's not a heat wave. Heat waves are technically, I believe it's like 90 degrees and plus for 5 days. I believe that's the rule, but it's spring, and we're going to be 89 today, 90 tomorrow, 92, and then we're gonna drop back down. And so this gives me a perfect opportunity to get ready for my next planting. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we time everything out around our temperatures, especially this time of year. And there's multiple reasons why. I'm not totally used to the summer heat yet because it's not supposed to be here. And if we're gonna be putting, so for instance, today we're gonna be emptying out this bed here. So we've got this lettuce and our rutabagas, we're gonna be emptying them out and we're gonna be putting our corn in, but I'm not gonna put it in just yet. Typically this time of year, what I do is I do a quick turn and burn. I'll pull it up and then I'll just replant it probably that day or the next day. But we're not gonna do that right now. We are going to empty it. And there's the other option you have is you can let it sit and let the soil rebuild, but we're not gonna do that either. We're gonna work this garden hard. So we're gonna get it prepared, but the weather is driving everything for us right now. And if we seed right now, it's just gonna be an uphill battle. Look at me, I've been such a bad garden dad. I have not treated for the cabbage moth. Didn't want to though because it's not bothering anything else. I didn't want to put any chemicals in my garden unneeded, and we knew we were going to pull these up now, so it's just pretty easy that way. But that being said, you know, the uphill battle part comes in, look at that, with you know, planting the seed, but then the soil just being really dry and being cooked, and we don't really want to do that. So we're pulling these up. Man, I'm having a good rutabaga year, I gotta say. And we're gonna let it sit until it cools off. And that way when we water, the water will stay in the ground longer. And it's not gonna be as big of a deal for the plants themselves, the seeds that get going, because it is really hard to keep new seeds moist enough to germinate. But yeah, we're doing really good with rutabagas this year. I'm surprised. Let me pull these up and I'll show you what we got. So yeah, talking about in a previous video, the summer, or you know, the mid-season lack of produce. This doesn't seem like a lot, which it looked like a lot more when I had plants. But if you look at it this way, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meals off here. The benefit with these rutabagas, which is why I like to grow them, is they'll actually stay in the fridge for, you know, up to a month before they start to go bad. So it's the beginning of April now, you know, first week of well, second week technically of April. So this should go a month into the second week of June, which is really important for part of our task for this year. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm just building my knowledge about the crops that we're growing and what will last and what will hold over well. And I'm taking notes mentally as far as like, hey, what would I want to grow in the near future to make this much better into the next season? So we have more produce when there's not a lot of other produce coming out. So remember, we'll be eating these, and let's just talk about fresh for right now. In middle of June, then we should start to get our tomatoes by then too. And we should start to get some of these squash by then. So we're going in the right direction. Back to the original point. So we're starting to clear this out now. The rutabagas are gone. We're gonna finish clearing out this lettuce that's bolted, and I really am not concerned about, I know a lot of people might be looking and say, look at all the lettuce you wasted. It's not gonna get wasted. We actually wanted some of this to happen so we could give it to our chickens just to kind of supplement the feed a little bit and to add a little bit more nutrition into their diet. That's a really big aspect of what we're doing here as well. Now, we're dancing around the heat a little bit for planting, so the corn will be planted. And then right behind that, we're gonna come out here tomorrow morning, more than likely in the morning, and we're gonna harvest all of these cabbages at once. And like I said, I've showed you in the previous video, they're not the biggest, but they need to come out. It's time to put our sweet potatoes in. And again, we're not gonna plant them when it's 90, 92 degrees. We're gonna wait until the next day when it's gonna be 75, 80 degrees again. And then we're gonna get like 10 days of weather like that. And what that does is it allows these garden beds here to actually get more comfortable as they get going. It'll hold, so for direct seeding, like with our corn, it will hold the water longer. We won't have to water as much. We're still gonna have to water a bit more because it is warmer, but we won't have to water as much. And not to mention there'll be more dew in the morning, which will help keep that top layer moist, which a lot of people discount the dew and stuff like that, which it is helpful for this. And then as far as the sweet potatoes go, it's just as simple as getting them in the ground and giving them a little bit of time to get those roots to come out before you can start just really cooking them in the heat, because they do like the heat, but nothing likes to be started in the heat. Now, hopefully they can pull through, but these potatoes may end up finishing up in the next couple days. I'm hoping they don't. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna spray them with water every day, 2 times a day in the middle of the day. If you had to work or something like that, you could do it. If you came home at a lunch break, you could do it, or you could do it in the afternoon, but that will help keep them cool, just because we know that this heat right now is not here to stay. It will be here and it will be back and it will stay, but for right now, we know we've got another 10 to 14 days of relatively mildish temperatures. And I mean, this is just part of me knowing what my weather in coastal North Carolina is. I know how it works. I know that it's gonna get hot. And I know that, you know, this year we've had a fairly favorable spring, and I wanna use that to my advantage, and I don't wanna let a day or two mess up all of that, because the longer those can stay in the ground, the better off they are. So we're timing everything out around the weather now, and we're just starting to get going as much as possible. The other thing that we're timing out around the weather is gonna be our onions. So we're gonna let those, as soon as they start to fall over, which it looks like they're starting to get pretty close, we're gonna do the opposite, and we're gonna time it for a hot, dry period, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the onions up and just lay them in the garden, let them kind of dry out in the garden for a day or two. But we need hot, dry temperatures for that. So it's not always a bad thing to be hot and dry, but you just wanna know this and use it to your ability to be flexible in what you're doing, and try not to be so rigid in your gardening plan that it's like, today's the day, it has to be today. Sometimes you can wait a day or two and it'll make all the difference in the world, especially if you're direct sowing a seed.